Hey, good afternoon. Today is Saturday, July the 12th, 2024, and the time now is 12:50 p.m. So today I want to talk briefly about Liberia, the president of Liberia, Joseph Boakai. So I want to talk about the latest developments pertaining to the announcement of cuts to his annual salary. So, Joseph Boakai is an older man, an elderly president. He is about 79 years old. He came to the presidency in January of this year and he promised lots of things. Okay, one thing that he promised was the idea of an economic and a war crimes court in Liberia. And so far, he's moving along with it. And he even recently signed a war crimes court bill in Liberia. So just recently, about 3 or 4 days ago, news came out that the Liberian office of the presidency basically announced that the president, Joseph Boakai, is going to be cutting his annual salary by 40%. That, I'm going to admit, is an outstanding move. It is a very interesting and important precedent that he is setting, especially if the intention is a true intention and if he is going to go along with it. However, I do have lots of questions that I want to ask, which I'm going to start now asking, and also I will ask at the end of this video or talk or program. One is that, how much is Joseph Boakai making? How much is he making that he is going to be cutting by 40%? For example, let's say that Joseph Boakai is making about 10 to 20,000 annually. Cutting it by 20%, as much as it is going to bore hole into the president's pocket, it's a good move. And if he really serious about it and that he wants to help the Liberian people and be fair to the Liberian people, it is outstanding. However, if he is making tens of thousand annually to $100,000 annually, cutting it by 40% is still nothing. Okay, it is still cheating the people, because the average Liberian people monthly making about $150, okay, United States dollar or less per month. So if you have a president making 100,000 or more, or a legislature making 100,000 or more per month, including all their benefits, it is still a problem. It is still cheating the people. Now, couple of things that I learned, okay, while preparing for this talk or program. One being that I already know, okay, or it is obvious, many Liberians in the country and abroad know that Liberia, as much as the country is one of the 10 poorest country in the world, the Liberian government, the legislature, is making killer salary. These guys are making $13,000 to $15,000 monthly, okay? They are making over $150,000 annually. So now, getting prepared for this talk or program or video, if you will, I looked at a couple of sources. One of the sources is BBC. In a BBC article, it is stated that Joseph Boakai makes about $13,000 annually, and that he is going to be cutting it by 40%, which is going to bring the total salary that he's going to be making to about $8,000 annually. Couple of sources, other sources basically states that Joseph Boakai makes about $13,000 monthly. Okay, so there seems to be a disparity between what he is making monthly and what he is making annually. And I am not sure whether it was a mistake or it is a mistake on the part of BBC, or whether this is some kind of cover-up. It is an intention. But I just want to pose the question. So once again, I am not sure whether BBC, in the article that I looked at, basically made an honest mistake stating that Joseph Boakai's annual salary is $13,000 and that he is going to be cutting it by 40%, which will bring his total salary down to $8,000 or so, versus realities out there, which other articles are speaking of, which is that Joseph Boakai, his salary is about $13,000 per month, which then, if he reduces it by 40%, will bring his monthly salary to about $8,000. Either way, I kind of did the math earlier. For example, let's say that Joseph Boakai's monthly salary is $13,000, which, if he reduces it by 40%, will be about $8,000. But then if you calculate $8,000 by 12, Joseph Boakai is still going to be making about $96,000, which is more than a lot. It is hundreds of times more than the average salary of the Liberian people. However, let's assume that Joseph Boakai is actually making $13,000 monthly and that he doesn't cut it, okay, his salary, which means he is going to be making over $150,000 monthly, which in this case, it is a shame, because what I want to do here is to extend the whole reality of Liberian officials making killer salary to the Ellen Johnson presidency. You are making $150,000. That is more than a lot. That is more than killer. That is more than pinching and punching and slapping the Liberian people. And this has been the case for what? Let's say 2 decades now. Liberian officials are known to make killer salary. These guys are making more than the poorest state in the United States. If not, they are making more than the governors of many, many states. Or if not, they are making more than the majority of the governors or representatives or government officials in the vast majority of the states in the United States. Once again, I'm going to repeat that. Liberian officials are making more than governors and representatives throughout the United States, in the various states or even in Congress. When you look at their immediate salary, okay, their base salary, when you add the this and that, all the benefits, they get gas benefits and this benefits and that benefits. When you sum it all together, these guys are balling. Okay, these guys are balling. So I want to ask now, in terms of the Joseph Boakai move to cut his salary by 40%. Once again, how much is Joseph Boakai really making? Because as a Liberian, what I know of my country and what Liberians know of the country to be obvious, no Liberian senator or president, at least since Ellen Johnson, is making or made $8,000 or $13,000 annually. No. No. These guys have made or they are making more than that. Okay? No Liberian senator or representative is making $8,000 or $13,000 annually. These guys are making many times more than that. Okay, that's the reality. However, I will tell you, as much as $8,000 could be low, or let's say it's low, not even could, for our representative. Okay, not based on what we the people think, but for them, their perspective, their perception of what they should be making. Even teachers in the best schools in Liberia don't make $8,000 annually. And that's the shame of what is happening in Liberia and in Africa. And it needs to stop. But then I want to ask, in terms of Joseph Boakai's move to cut his salary by 40%, is it true or false? Is it good or bad? Is this move being made solely because Joseph Boakai wants to be fair to the Liberian people? Okay, want to create solidarity for or with the Liberian people? Or is it a result of fear of what is happening in Kenya? Because Kenya, with William Ruto, the people, especially Gen Zs, they've been protesting a lot, and William Ruto has been in trouble for over a week now, and it doesn't seem as if his trouble is going to cease. So is Joseph Boakai attempting to cut salary to form solidarity with the people? So once again, I want to ask, and I do apologize for repeating these questions. Is Joseph Boakai's move to cut his salary by 40%, is it truly to establish a responsible governance or to establish solidarity with the Liberian people? Either or, no matter what his true intention is, I must admit that it could be a strategic move, okay? Because the truth is, what is happening in Kenya, I believe, is going to spread eventually throughout Africa, okay? It is going to spread eventually throughout Africa. And perhaps this could be a move to basically separate himself from the misdeeds of the legislature, because these guys are not going to cut their salary. They want to keep balling. And in the future, when what is happening in Kenya eventually spreads to Liberia, Joseph Boakai perhaps could point his finger, say, I cut my salary, I am being fair to you guys. Those guys over there in the hill, those guys are the cheaters, okay? The ones who've been cheating you, the Liberian people. Because the truth is, as I said earlier, no Liberian top official, whether we are talking about the legislature or the president, is making $13,000 or $8,000 annually. These guys are making more than that, okay? So again, by BBC stating that Joseph Boakai is making $13,000 annually, I do believe that was a mistake. Whether it was a true mistake or it was an intention to basically switch the numbers, I don't know. However, I do believe Joseph Boakai makes more than $13,000 annually. However, I must admit, and I must be fair to and with Joseph Boakai, the fact that he cuts his salary. Now, it is just an announcement. Let's say that he cut his salary by 40%, from $150,000 or more to $96,000. The fact that he does that is an outstanding move. It is a good move, and I welcome that move. And it is a start. It is only shameful that we have young people in Liberia who are in government, and it takes an old man, an elderly man, to set an example. But then, to be fair, in Africa, we are always taught by the old ones, okay? The old people always instill within us goodness, morality, and all the things that make us and society better. As much as I've said in the past that Joseph Boakai, being an elderly man in the presidency, could be an issue, I welcome this move. And if this move is a true move with a true intention, and if he is going to be doing something like this, then I'm happy to have him as the president of Liberia. Now, friends, I'm going to read the description for this program, or video or talk, if you will. And the description does pose questions and have comments. The description can serve as a conclusion or a summary to the program as well. I'm going to read, beginning with the title. The title for this program or video or talk is Liberian President Joseph Boakai to cut salary by 40%. Once again, I am going to repeat. Liberian President Joseph Boakai to cut salary by 40%. I'm going to read. Liberian President Joseph Boakai announced a 40% cut to his annual salary. Good or bad? True or false? Many in the country and throughout Africa have hailed the decision as outstanding and hope other leaders will follow suit. However, many are skeptical of the reason for the cut, where the cut is coming from, or who or what will cover the 40% that will be subtracted. The truth here is that it doesn't matter how much you are making as an employee, as a government official, higher or lower level. When you are taking 40% cut, that is going to bore hole or holes in your pocket. It is going to make your life a hell. It is going to impact you personally, your family, your friends, and so on in various ways. So then I want to add to this, to the questions, okay? By Joseph Boakai cutting his salary by 40%, who or what is going to cover the subtracted 40%? Is it coming from somewhere in the budget? Is it some international entity that is going to say, okay, we will pay you back your 40% if you're going to give us some deal, if you're going to give us access to Liberian resources or so? I am not trying to bring speculation or conspiracy here. I am just asking a question, because Africa or the various African countries are often in a very terrible position where they are taken advantage of. So I'm going to continue. Questions or comment? Number one, this was a great move in a country where officials are unnecessarily making killer salaries, hundreds of times more than the people's annual salaries or income. However, it is important to ask, how much is Joseph Boakai making that he will cut by 40%? This is important because if he makes 10 to 20,000 annually and cuts it by 40% with all allowances considered, that is outstanding. However, if he makes hundreds of thousands to $1 million annually, then that still means nothing because the people are still being cheated. Number two, it is also important to ask who or what will cover the 40% Boakai salary cut from the Liberian national budget. It could be a game to cut his salary from the national budget while an outside entity covers it because of some secret deal. This is basically what I said earlier. Number three, we should also ask Boakai's reason for the cut. Is it to be fair to the Liberian people or because of what is currently happening in Kenya? I know Boakai is saying, or his office is saying, that the cut is to establish responsible governance and also to establish solidarity with the Liberian people. So I'm adding, is this cut really because of that or a fear of what is happening in Kenya that could potentially end up happening in Liberia? All over Africa, people are protesting what they believe or what they feel to be an unfair governance. I'm going to continue. Number four, there is a disparity between what government officials are known to make in Liberia and what President Boakai announced he is making. Liberian government officials are known to make at least $15,000 a month, including benefits. And I basically phrased this question in a way that I did because of the disparity that I'm getting in terms of the information. In one article, and I'm talking about the BBC article, it states that Joseph Boakai makes about $13,000 annually, and that the 40% cuts will eventually or ultimately bring his annual salary to $8,000 I don't believe that. I don't believe any Liberian officials in the legislature or the president making 13,000 annually. I don't believe that. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I will have to apologize. Number 5, how does this impact the legislature? Does it necessitate a cut to their salary as well, and why? And that is plausible and it is necessary, because you cannot cut the president's salary and then the legislature, okay, the representatives and the Senate are balling. And this is one of the reasons that I think this whole thing doesn't make sense, because there is no way the legislature, okay, the representatives and Senate are making 13 to 15,000 monthly and over 115,000 annually, and you are telling me that the president Joseph Boakai is making just 13,000 annually. No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so I think the informations that are coming out needs to be analyzed, and the Liberian media and those Liberians in academia or in the various position of influence needs to analyze the information and bring the information out to the public. Okay? However, I have to be honest once again, and I have to be humble about it. It doesn't matter what Joseph Boakai is making. The fact that the man, the president of Liberia, okay, our president, decides to cut his salary by 40%. If he is doing it with a true intention and he means it seriously, we should all applaud him for that, okay? And big up to you, Mr. President Joseph Boakai of Liberia. That's a good move. Please doing as much as you can to change the lives of the Liberian people. Now, friends, I'm going to end here. Please tell me what you think. But most importantly, thank you very much for joining the Echoing Voice community. And thank you very much for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.